Welcome to this episode of Attitude. I'm Mary Arnott, producer and host of the show. I like doing the show to influence attitudes in a positive way about the topics discussed. So, for the love of readers, I hope you find the subject inspiring. I have with me the two perfect people to talk about our topic, book clubs. If you are already part of a book club, I think our discussion will give you ideas on how to enhance it. If you are thinking of joining a book club, our show will help you decide which type of book club is best for you and what are the benefits of a book club. If you are thinking of starting a book club, we have that covered too, with everything from organizing your club, holding your first meeting, and how to pick books for your readers. Both avid readers, my distinguished guests are Nancy Jennison, an author and literacy consultant, who has helped start book clubs for people of all ages. My other distinguished guest is our own Hopkinton Town Library Director, Ronak Hussain. Thank you both for being with me today. I've been wanting to do a show on book clubs for quite some time, so I really appreciate you being my guest.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Well, Nancy, we'll start with you. I guess with your background experience, what would you say to someone about why they should join a book club and what are some of the benefits?
Well, the first thing I would say is it's really fun. There's nothing more invigorating than talking to somebody about something you're excited about. So suppose you just finished reading your own book and you think, I love that book, I don't want it to end. Well, instead of putting it back on the shelf, you get to talk about it with other people who've read the same book. Or, on the other hand, suppose you didn't like the book. Then maybe they can point something out to you that you hadn't thought of as a way to expand your horizons. It gives you something new and exciting to do. If you don't know people well, it's a great way to meet people, interesting people, to develop friendships, to expand your horizons and your thinking, to learn more about reading, different types of genre, learning about different authors. It's just really wonderful.
So
wonderful
lots
experience.
of benefits about
Lots of
being part
benefits, yeah.
All right. What are different types of book clubs? Are there different types of book clubs that people can join?
Well, yeah, with my experiences in the past as a literacy specialist, parents sometimes ask me to help them get book clubs going for their children. So sometimes there are parent and child book clubs. Other times there are specialized book clubs, like if someone has an interest in the classics, for example. I was reading about that online today, and these women started a book club reading the classics. So there can be all different types of book clubs depending upon your interest and your age.
Sounds good. I know I was just starting to read this book, and I got it from the library. So Ronak, the library, has a very important role in supporting book clubs, I would imagine. Can you tell us a little bit about what the library does to help book clubs? And are there book clubs for different ages that you're aware of?
Certainly, of course, in the library we're surrounded by books, and I can understand what you're saying earlier. It's so exciting to be able to talk about a book, and we do that amongst ourselves in the library all the time. So as far as the book clubs are concerned, we started the book club at the Senior Center a couple of years ago. So we initiated that. I used to go there once a month to initiate the discussion, help them going. Now they run their own book club. So we initiated that. And Hopkinton residents, Clara Malloy, one day approached us to have a history book club in the library. And we said, great, why not? And that's really thriving. And it's a history book club, so they either choose a subject topic or they do a biography. So just to mention, in March, we'll have Abigail Adams. We'll have a performer come in and put a show on Abigail Adams, because they're going to be reading about Abigail Adams. And now, so these are the two basic book clubs we have in the library, and then we support all the other book clubs in town, in the sense that they call us to let us know what books they need, and we get all their books. So members of the book clubs come, pick up their books. So it's one way of assuring them, hey, we have the books ready for you, come and get it. So that's another help. As far as young adults, we have 3 separate book clubs. We started with the 4th and 5th grade book clubs. That's now a high school book club, which is great. And then we have a middle school book club that covers 4th and 6th grade every month. And so there are 3, and then they're looking to start the 4th and 6th, which move to the higher grade. So these book clubs are fantastic. Kids get excited. We serve pizza. They come every Friday. So it's a very exciting time, and we're there to help you, and we help the existing book clubs. But anyone can approach the library with an idea if they want to start a book club, and we can certainly incorporate that into our schedule.
So you're not only helping the book clubs by making sure that the books are available for them, maybe ahead of time, like you say, getting them together, but they can also meet at the library.
They can meet at the library, and they can start one if somebody's interested to start one, because we then take care of the publicity. We publicize throughout the town, through various media, newspaper, and advertising. So we can spread the word for you that we're starting, and we can provide the other support that you need in terms of space and books and get people together and generate discussion. Sometimes we would love to initiate it for you and start the discussion for a few times and then let you take over.
I just want to mention off of what you said, Ronak, that is so wonderful that you do that for children.
Yes.
Because it just goes to prove that you're really helping to develop lifelong readers. And
Absolutely.
As a reading specialist, one of the things I found is that parents would say to me so often, how can I get my child to be a better writer?
Yes.
And one of the best keys is to be a strong reader.
Yes.
And to really enjoy being able to discuss the book. It increases comprehension and helps children with social skills. And proof of the pudding is that your students have gone on and then been involved in it in middle school and high school.
Right.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and also during summertime, especially, we have a fantastic children's librarian. She comes up with all kinds of ideas to reward children and to participate. So if you go up, if you have parents who are interested, tell them to come up to the children's room, because Denise does have a way of getting the kids involved, get them excited. We have prizes, rewards, so it's fun. The library is a fun place to be and work there.
So for us kids of all ages, Nancy, how would you advise somebody if they wanted to start a book club, how they could get organized, and what they would do?
Well, when I came to town, I didn't know as many people and didn't know that your library was so helpful in getting people going with getting book clubs started. So my friend Maureen Martins and I decided we'd send out an email to some people whom we knew in our neighborhood, as well as some other friends, and invited them to come to a planning meeting for the book club. And so we thought that we would have a once a month meeting on the last Wednesday of the month, from starting at 7 o'clock at night. And so the first thing that we did, step one for us, was sending it out. We also wanted to put people at ease, because so many of the people in our club work, have full-time jobs. And sometimes people feel stressed if they have to read the book, if they don't get a chance to read the whole thing. So we said in our introductory email that we wanted this to be a stimulating but really fun, informal club. And if you couldn't get the book read in total, or if you decided you really didn't like it, we didn't want people to feel pressured. So I think that's another reason why we had so much interest in the club, because people knew that it would be a wonderful way to get to know each other better and have a wonderful time. We have so much fun at this club. It's amazing.
So that's an example of what you call maybe a more informal club, kind of a neighborhood club, closer friends and stuff. But I think you've had some experience with a little more structured informal club as well. You want to tell us a little bit about that and how that works?
Yes. Well, I was in a structured club when I lived in northern New Jersey, and there were probably about maybe 23 people in that club. It was a huge club. And I would say that the negative about that is that if you're in a club that's large like that, it's very hard to get to know people. We were on a structured time limit because it was after work, before supper.
That's right.
So it was 3:30 to 5, right after school got out. And so there was always one person who was the leader. He was the designated leader. And we sat in a circle or on the floor or on cushions or whatever, but talked about issues that we wanted to. Everybody had an issue that they wanted to discuss, or a topic about that book. In a sense, it wasn't nearly as fun as for me as the informal club, because it was hard to get to know people in that shorter time frame of just an hour and a half, as well as the largeness of the club. So also we had refreshments always at a designated time, the end. In the informal club that I'm in now, in contrast, we make it very fun and inviting for people, and people feel free to get up and get a drink of something or have a snack, and we don't have this structured circular discussion, but rather we have an interchange of ideas, but it always starts with, well, how's your month been?
Right.
You know, how are you doing? So everyone knows everyone's name. In the other club that I was in, I didn't really get to know a lot of people because there wasn't time for that. It was very compressed. So I would say that would be, and those are just two examples. Those are two examples of a structured versus a less structured club.
Okay. So someone who's
Yeah.
thinking about joining a club, they've got to decide if they want something less formal, more relaxed, a little bit more of, you know, making your friends and the members of the club more of the focus than perhaps the book, whereas the other one sounds like if you really want to focus in on the book and the effect the book may have had on you or something, there are also more formal clubs that you can join with a lot of structure, and then people will discuss perhaps the book a little bit more. But you've both mentioned that book clubs can have sort of a theme, like maybe a book on
Yes.
books of history, or maybe people just pick different books at different times. Ronak, what if a group wants to make sure they can reserve a number of books and maybe the library doesn't have enough copies? Is there some way the library still can help that club
Yeah,
to get?
well, what we do normally, obviously, we're not going to have like 15 copies of a
Yeah,
particular
that's a
book.
really large.
Right. So because we are part of a larger network, we're part of a 60 network, 60 libraries in the network. So what we do is we borrow these books from other libraries for the book club. If you let us know ahead of time,
Okay.
we're able to borrow that for you. One other thing I wanted to just add to your discussion is that the history book club we have in our library, interestingly, we collaborate that with Holliston Public Library. So the same book is being read in their community, and if people cannot attend the Hopkinton Club, that particular book on that particular Thursday, they can join the same club in Holliston and vice versa.
Great.
So it's like you know, it's any way you want you can. One of the things I want to mention that one of the interests we had is that we thought we'll invite different book clubs in town, all the different book clubs in town, come to the library and talk about what are the books that they read. You know, get all the book clubs together and share their experiences and the books that they were very, you know, they liked and became popular. So something, we wanted to do that for a long time, but that's something maybe Mary can help us do in the future.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and we just didn't get around doing it, but that we've been tossing up, you know, playing with that idea for a long time. So maybe after the show we'll
Be
touch
certainly
base.
happy to help with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd
Well,
be
that
interesting.
prompts me to want to ask then, maybe Nancy, we'll start with you, is different book clubs, how did they decide which book they're going to read that month? I mean, you know, how
Well,
do you
the
get
way-
your members interested to pick a book?
That's a very good question. The way that we did it is Maureen and I asked people for this planning meeting, the introductory meeting, if everyone would bring 2 suggestions for titles that they thought, either from their own experience or friends or reviews that they read or recommendations from someone else, but to know something about that book, those titles, so that they could share that information with the group. So from my background as a teacher, I know that sometimes people don't have time to get things together, or something comes up, and so I always have to be ready. So I would have more than 2 titles ready, because
Right.
Maureen and I would start leading this. So I probably had maybe 8 titles ready, just in case someone didn't get to it and the conversation was, you know, not happening. I'd interject a couple more titles. So the other things that we did are we had voting supplies available. So the way that we did it is everybody had a piece of paper, and I suggested that they take notes on different titles that they thought sounded really good. Maybe put a couple of stars beside them, and then at the end of the time, when everybody said what they wanted to say about different books, we voted. So Maureen and I tabulated the titles, and we just decided that we'd read them in the order that were the highest votes. So it was really pretty easy. But we didn't want to pick the titles for the whole year, because we wanted to make sure that the club was going well. So I think we picked titles for the first 4 months. And so then,
New books are coming out all the time, so you might want to
Exactly.
change
Yeah.
and pick out too many, for the whole
Right.
year then.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So then while people were having, this was the first meeting, while people were just talking and having something to eat and getting to know each other, Maureen and I tabulated all the results, and then we shared with them what the books would be that they all voted for, and then we talked about who would like to hold the meeting at her house. It's all females in our club. We did invite men to join, but no one wanted to join except women. But maybe in the library they may come to the
Right.
library.
Well, one of the tools I'd like to mention that we may want to pick up on is we have 2 electronic tools actually, book reviews. One is called
Yes.
Novelist, the other
Oh,
one
yes.
called Booklist. So in those databases you click and you can pick author alike. If you say, I like Baldacci or
Yes.
Jane Austen, and the system will give you a list of other authors that you may like.
Great.
And subject to, if you put a theme, saying that I like this kind of theme or this kind of background, it'll give you a list of books that includes that theme too.
That sounds like
So
a
it-
wonderful
yeah,
resource.
so it's a very good, very interesting tool. So one called Novelist, the other one called Booklist, and you can find that on the library website.
Excellent.
It's called What to Read. I have a section called What to Read. If you click on that, then all these options will be there for you to select
I will
from.
be clicking.
Yeah, life's a little easier these days. with
Our library
computer.
website is a wonderful one too. I like the
Thank
way
you.
it's designed, and you have a bestsellers list and other things on there. So anyone who's interested in whether they're a member of a book club or not, just finding
Yes.
something good to read, that's a wonderful resource at that website. Or if they don't have access to the internet, they can stop in and see.
Is
it,
that,
so.
at the library staff members are fantastic. They're like gold mines. You just go and ask them. They become expert on going on what came up and what people like, and they really have what we call readers advisory.
That's
so
excellent.
yeah, they go and they'll really help you right away and help you pick and choose. Select a book that you were thinking about reading, and they can help you a lot with that.
That's
So-
excellent.
So that's good.
Something else with regard to after you select the books that you're going to be reading, if it's a private club that's not based at a community center or at the library, then you'll have to be thinking of where are you going to be meeting. So in our club, what we do is we rotate from house to house. And it's nice because it's not the same person's responsibility to get ready for everything. So whoever's house it's going to be at, the meeting will be held at, it's that person's responsibility to email all the members and just to remind them of the time and the date and the book and so on. And also that person coordinates the food that we're going to be eating. And different clubs go through food in different ways. For example, I was reading about some club members who like to have snacks to go along with the theme of the book.
Oh.
We don't do that. We just have very simple things. But you can do this in whatever way suits you.
Well, you had anticipated one of my questions, and I was about to ask it about location and how the book clubs can work, but we've talked about that. You can meet at the library, you can find a community center, the senior center has their book club here in town, meet at people's house.
Right.
There's lots of different ways to
The
make
churches
this work.
too, right?
Yes, churches do too. They have book
Yep.
clubs, or even online book clubs. You don't actually
That's
meet in
right.
person,
Yeah.
which I don't think is quite as much fun. But
Yeah.
for those that can't get
true.
out, or want
al-
to join a book club where there's people from all over the world, you can comment on a book over the internet as well. And you're
And
about to say?
Yes, I was just going to say we were visiting with relatives in St. Louis earlier this year, and a woman had just moved into an assisted living facility and didn't know people well, but she loved to read. So I worked with the activities director at her center in St. Louis just through the internet and helped them get the book club going. So it's a wonderful way for
very
people who
nice.
live in enclosed facilities like that to really have invigorating conversations and get to know people. It's a great way to get to know people.
Yeah, well, and as you mentioned too, if with the library having book clubs for the younger readers,
Yes.
if we can get the young ones interested in it, then they'll stay with the reading, and perhaps join book clubs or even organize their own as they get a little bit older. And it's so important to be a good reader. It affects you in so many good ways.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any what I would call maybe downsides you want to alert people to, so they, because if you join a book club and you have certain expectations, you want it to meet those expectations. But can you think of any things that might go wrong when you join a book club, or as the book club organizes?
Well, I would say one thing would be the size of the club.
And the selection, too.
And the selection of the books.
Right.
So with regard to the size of the club, you'll want to be thinking in terms of, do you want everyone to get to know each other well and to really be able to feel comfortable and not shy about interspersing their ideas. So if you do, and depending upon where you're going to be meeting, the size of the room and so on, you'll probably want to keep your club on the smaller side, like maybe usually around 6, from 6 to around 12. But keeping it at a higher limit so that once it gets going, that 12 or 13 is a good cutoff point, I found. Because in the other club, where there were so many people and people didn't know each other, it sometimes seemed that the same people were always talking, even though the man went around the room once and did ask each person. In this structured book club, people didn't feel as comfortable because they never got to know each other. And as far as the titles go, I think that's why it's a good idea to pick a few that everyone vote on, and then to have another planning meeting at the tail end of one of your book club meetings where you pick a few more titles.
Yeah, so they all have they understand what's going to happen and their expectation is set. They're not, in other words, lay the ground rule per se.
Yes.
You just kind of define, this is how we're going to do it. Are we all happy with this decision?
Yes. And ground rules can change as the club progresses. You all of a sudden may feel that you'd like to read a different genre together for a couple of books. So you have one idea of how it's going to start out, but it can grow and change in light of what the members feel.
And I guess for parents who'd like to see their children as part of a children's book club, they can get involved and be there at the meetings and maybe help facilitate, the kids how they, because they're not going to be so much an interest in ground rules, I guess, for kids' book clubs, but maybe that, then the parents can sort of steer them sort of, toward a particular type of book, or help make sure their children get involved a little bit, because kids can tend to be a little shy sometimes, although I have some nieces and nephews that are very outgoing and outspoken, they do well, and something like that. But
the book clubs that I helped to organize where I was working in the past had to do with parents and children in the book clubs. So they were mother-daughter. These happened to be mother-daughter book clubs, and they were going in several schools. They originated within the community, people who came to me and just asked me, if you got any suggestions for titles, or how do we get started, and they rotated from house to house too. And people always came back to me and said, "This is so much fun," and they just were.
Now that's
so
the kind of feedback you want to get, right?
Yeah.
Well, and Ronak, sounds like you have a lot of people that at the library that give good feedback too, because they're showing up for the meetings, and they're checking out the books, and they're reserving the books, and the libraries are providing a very important service to the town and the book clubs we have.
And it just pleases me to see kids of all ages come to the library.
Oh yeah.
You'd think, kids, they're not going to come, but they do come. And we try, in our book selection, we make sure we keep up with what's going on, what kids are interested in. We have a young adult advisory club, by the way, I forgot to mention. So we get them involved selecting the books, what types of titles they would like to see. So we have young folks helping us to reach out to other young folks. So that's really exciting. I think it's a good way of using kids to make other kids interested. Because sometimes as an adult, we don't always know exactly what they would love to read or what's going on right now, what are the most interesting topic that kids are interested, but other kids will tell you what they like.
That's very true.
So we take their advice, and then select our books. So that's another fun way of getting good feedback.
Yes, and the way that the mother and daughter book clubs functioned when they went from house to house, again, as the person who hosted it at her house would, she and her daughter would select the book that the club was going to read for that month. And so they thought that was wonderful, because each mother and daughter got to at one point or another, select a book that the club would read. So.
Well, I started out by telling the audience in the beginning that I had the two most perfect people to talk about book clubs. And I think you both fit that bill very well.
Thank
I can't
you.
tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Unfortunately, like all shows, we just seem to run out of time so quickly, and I want to go on, but I need to close and certainly thank both of you for being here, and thank the HCAM team as well. We had people come out tonight to help with the show, volunteers, Maureen Buemiller, John Ritz, Andy Ritz, and of course we have the HCAM team of Mike Tarosian and Jim Cousins that help make the shows possible. And I also want to thank the audience for watching, and let the audience know that if you want some more information, you can visit the town library website. As I mentioned, it's a wonderful website.
Thank you.
And there are links there to help you. So stop in and see Ronak or any of the library team if you need help with that. And Nancy has also graciously offered, if you want to email her for some additional information, since she's helped start book clubs of all ages, her email address is nancyjennison@verizon.net. Thank you for watching. I'm Mary Arnott, signing out with Attitude. We'll see you again.
I'm Dr. Brian McGeeney. Migraine headaches affect nearly 30 million Americans, with women suffering 3 times more often than men. It commonly strikes between the ages of 15 and 55, and 75% of those affected have a family history of migraine. The condition is characterized by throbbing pain and is often accompanied by nausea and sensitivity to light and sound. Attacks can last from 4 to 72 hours and prevent sufferers from performing daily activities. Many factors can lead to migraine, and triggers aren't the same for everyone. Among the triggers are diet, activity, the environment, emotions, medications, and even hormones. Migraines are often misdiagnosed as sinus headache or tension headache. But migraines can be effectively managed with patient education and appropriate treatments, including medications, proper sleep and dietary habits, exercise, avoidance techniques, and biofeedback. For more information, please visit the American Headache Society at acnet.org.
When my mom gets drunk, she starts yelling about everything she thinks is wrong with me. It's terrible. At Al-Anon Family Groups, I found the help I needed. If someone's drinking bothers you, call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or visit AlanonFamilyGroups.org.